If a man says these 5 things, don't explain them away. Don't wait for him to change. Walk away. Because these aren't just careless words, they are signals of control, disrespect, and emotional erosion. As Master Shi Heng Yi teaches, Shaolin wisdom begins with awareness, and awareness begins with listening. Words carry energy. What you allow yourself to hear repeatedly begins to shape your self-worth. These 5 phrases may sound casual, even familiar. But beneath them lies a slow dismantling of your clarity, your peace, and your strength. This isn't about judging a man too harshly, it's about protecting your inner balance. It's about recognizing that real love doesn't confuse you, shrink you, or make you question your worth. If he says any of these 5 things, it's not your job to fix him. It's your responsibility to return to yourself. Walk away, not in anger, but in power. And with each step, return to the grounded self-respect that no one has the right to take from you. If a man ever tells you, "You'll never find anyone better than me," hear the weight behind those words not as a compliment but as a warning. This phrase, cloaked in arrogance and disguised as possession, is more than just a statement, it's an invisible chain tightening around your sense of self-worth. It preys on the most fundamental human need for connection and acceptance, twisting it into a tool of control. In a world where relationships should nurture growth, this assertion acts like a shadow in the mind, feeding doubt and insecurity where there should be trust and freedom. When such words are spoken, they spark a subtle but damaging rewiring of the brain. The neuroscience behind it is clear. The amygdala, responsible for processing fear and threat, flares with alarm at the idea of abandonment or loss. This floods the body with stress hormones, creating a state of hypervigilance that clouds judgment. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, where rational thought and self-regulation reside, can become suppressed, leaving the mind vulnerable to emotional hijacking. It's here that Shaolin wisdom offers a crucial lens, the practice of rootedness, the art of standing like a tree with firm grounding in your own value, unshaken by external storms. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that true strength is not found in dominating others but in mastering one's own mind. When confronted with this phrase, your mind may spiral into false scarcity, a mirage convincing you that love and respect are finite resources tied to this single person. But this is a misalignment with reality. Life and love are abundant. The Shaolin way calls for clarity, awareness of the present moment and a calm appraisal of truth beyond emotional distortion. Recognizing the manipulation embedded in these words is the first step to reclaiming your freedom. The first step to respond is to cultivate discernment, quiet your inner chatter and observe the impact these words have on your emotions without judgment. Practice Master Shi Heng Yi's method of mental observing, where you become the silent witness to your thoughts and feelings. This technique trains the mind to pause, interrupting the neural loop of anxiety and self-doubt triggered by such toxic remarks. With repeated practice, you begin to create new neural pathways that promote resilience and emotional regulation. Second, root yourself in self-compassion and personal values. Shaolin philosophy emphasizes the harmony between body, mind, and spirit, so anchoring in your physical presence can help stabilize emotional upheaval. Engage in mindful breathing or simple standing meditation. Stand like a rooted warrior, feeling the connection of your feet to the earth, the stability in your spine. This physical grounding reminds you that your worth is inherent, independent of anyone else's validation. Third, establish clear boundaries by gently but firmly asserting your worth. Master Shi Heng Yi advocates the cultivation of right speech, communication that is truthful, meaningful, and mindful. When this phrase surfaces, respond internally or externally with the quiet strength of truth. Your value is not determined by comparison or possession. This act of speaking your truth rewires your neural circuits toward empowerment rather than submission. Ignoring this pattern is not without cost. The relentless erosion of self-esteem leads to chronic stress responses, impairing not just emotional well-being but physical health. The Shaolin discipline teaches that the mind is the commander of the body. If the mind is captive, the body becomes fatigued, and the spirit diminished. Emotional captivity disrupts natural energy flow, causing internal imbalance, much like a blocked qi river. Recognizing this subtle captivity is essential to breaking free. You might observe this dynamic in daily life, a casual remark from a partner that feels like a test of loyalty, a veiled threat disguised as love. The danger lies not in the words themselves but in the power they hold over your self-perception. Shaolin wisdom urges you to reclaim that power, not by confrontation alone but by internal mastery. When you can observe these words without reaction, when you can feel the discomfort but not allow it to root, you build an internal fortress. Ask yourself quietly, what is the cost of accepting a limited narrative about your worth? When you open space within your mind, as Master Shi Heng Yi instructs, the conditioning begins to dissolve. The practice of letting go is not passive surrender but an active relinquishing of mental chains. Like water flowing over a stone, you learn to let the waves of doubt pass without losing your center. You'll never find anyone better than me. Hear it not as a challenge but as a call to awaken. To step fully into your own value and refuse to be confined by others' illusions. To cultivate a mind so clear and strong that such words bounce off like autumn leaves from a sturdy pine. What strength lies in you, waiting to be fully claimed when you no longer accept the false scarcity of love? 2. You're too sensitive, it's just a joke. These words slip into conversations like poison wrapped in silk, dismissing your feelings as overreactions, trivializing your emotional experience. Sensitivity, in modern culture, is often framed as weakness, yet it is the gateway to deep empathy, intuition, and connection. When a partner uses this phrase, they weaponize your compassion, shifting blame for discomfort onto you rather than taking responsibility for their words or actions. This tactic disorients the mind, inviting self-doubt and undermining emotional confidence. Psychologically, it triggers cognitive dissonance. Your internal experience says one thing, but the external narrative insists it is wrong or exaggerated. This conflict taxes the prefrontal cortex's ability to regulate emotions, leading to confusion, anxiety, and diminished self-trust. Neuroscience shows that persistent invalidation can alter brain structures related to emotional regulation, weakening resilience over time. From the Shaolin perspective, this pattern is a disturbance to the harmony between intention and expression. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that true power lies in clear awareness of your emotional landscape without suppression or denial. He reminds us that emotions are signals from the body-mind system, important guides rather than liabilities to be shamed or dismissed. A healthy mind embraces sensitivity as a form of strength, like a finely tuned instrument capable of hearing subtle shifts in the world. The first step in responding is to reclaim ownership of your feelings, acknowledge them internally without judgment. Cultivate the Shaolin practice of returning to breath, where attention anchors in the body's natural rhythm, creating a stable platform from which to observe emotional waves. This cultivates self-validation and interrupts the cycle of external invalidation. Second, practice compassionate but firm communication. When "it's just a joke" surfaces, gently but clearly express your boundary. What feels hurtful is real, and your emotions deserve respect. Master Shi Heng Yi's teaching on right speech encourages speaking with intention and mindfulness, balancing honesty with calmness, preventing escalation while affirming your truth. Third, engage in mental training to strengthen emotional resilience. Techniques such as focused meditation or mindful journaling can reprogram your neural pathways, enhancing self-awareness and reducing the impact of dismissive comments. This aligns with Shaolin discipline, which is not about suppressing feelings but integrating them skillfully. Ignoring this diminishes emotional health and disrupts the flow of energy in the body. Persistent invalidation fuels chronic stress, weakening the immune system and increasing vulnerability to depression or anxiety. Shaolin philosophy sees this as an imbalance in the qi, energy that must be cultivated and respected for optimal well-being. In daily life, this pattern often manifests as jokes or sarcasm that sting, laughter that isolates rather than unites. Recognizing this, the Shaolin path calls for a return to balance, honoring your sensitivity as a sacred capacity while maintaining the strength to not be defined or diminished by others' dismissiveness. What if sensitivity is your greatest power? What if this perceived vulnerability is the sharp edge of your emotional wisdom, capable of cutting through illusion and fostering deep connection? When you stand like a rooted tree, acknowledging your feelings without apology, what new freedom unfolds? 3. You're not like my ex used to be. This phrase carries the weight of comparison, a subtle undermining of your unique value and the attempt to fit you into a preconceived mold. It implies that you must change to be acceptable, that your authentic self is insufficient. This comparison creates an internal conflict, eroding self-esteem and fostering a mindset of inadequacy. Neuroscientifically, constant comparison triggers reward pathways linked to social approval, leading to compulsive behavior to meet external expectations. This creates a feedback loop of anxiety and diminished self-worth, disrupting emotional homeostasis. Shaolin teaching warns of the danger in chasing external validation. The mind becomes a battlefield where peace cannot settle. Master Shi Heng Yi emphasizes the cultivation of authentic self-awareness as the foundation of lasting strength. He reminds practitioners that true power arises from aligning with one's nature, not conforming to others' projections. The Shaolin way calls for discipline not to imitate, but to deeply know oneself and express that truth unflinchingly. First, ground yourself in self-recognition. Practice a daily ritual of reflection, observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment, identifying the unique qualities that make you whole. This practice aligns with Shi Heng Yi's guidance on cultivating the root, reinforcing your inner foundation beyond external comparison. Second, embrace the practice of acceptance. The Shaolin mind does not resist what is but works skillfully within reality. Accepting your own pace of growth and your individual journey frees you from the trap of comparison and the anxiety it breeds. Third, communicate your boundaries regarding comparison when appropriate. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that setting boundaries is an act of self-respect and clarity. When the shadow of your partner's ex lingers in conversation, calmly affirm your uniqueness rather than competing or shrinking. Ignoring this dynamic perpetuates a cycle of self-doubt and emotional instability. Shaolin philosophy identifies such mental agitation as monkey mind, restless and unfocused, unable to find peace. The mind entangled in comparison exhausts energy and disrupts natural qi flow, impairing both body and spirit. You might notice this playing out in the subtle ways a partner measures you against past relationships, coloring their expectations and judgments. The Shaolin path encourages turning inward, finding strength not in comparison but in the silent steadiness of self-knowledge. How might your life change if you no longer allow shadows of the past to define your present? What power arises when you fully embody your unique self without apology? 4. I think I'm not what you expect. This phrase reveals the speaker's own insecurity and often foreshadows deeper relational fractures. It carries an implicit fear of rejection, uncertainty about acceptance, and a hesitance that can create emotional distance. When you hear this, it is not just an observation but a barrier erected in vulnerability. From a psychological viewpoint, this reflects internalized doubt that can activate attachment fears, fear of abandonment or inadequacy, that ripple through the nervous system, disrupting trust and safety. Neuroscience teaches us that uncertainty triggers the brain's threat detection system, often leading to defensive or avoidant behaviors. This can stifle intimacy and create cycles of misunderstanding. Shaolin wisdom, as taught by Master Shi Heng Yi, invites us to confront uncertainty with courage and clarity. He emphasizes the power of presence, the ability to remain steady and open amidst internal and external turmoil. This presence is cultivated through disciplined meditation and mindful awareness, practices that build emotional resilience and foster connection. First, develop radical acceptance of uncertainty within yourself and the relationship. This aligns with Shaolin principles of flow and adaptability. Rigid expectations break, but flexible minds bend without snapping. Meditation on impermanence helps dissolve fixed ideas about how things should be. Second, cultivate open-hearted communication that honors vulnerability without judgment. Shi Heng Yi teaches that genuine dialogue, rooted in calmness and respect, can transform fear into understanding. Responding to this phrase with empathy rather than defensiveness creates space for healing. Third, strengthen your emotional core through breath-centered practices. Breath anchors the mind and body in the present moment, calming the nervous system and reducing anxiety triggered by uncertainty. This simple tool is a cornerstone of Shaolin internal training. Ignoring this uncertainty fosters emotional disconnection and deepens insecurity. Shaolin philosophy views the heart-mind as the seat of harmony. When it fractures under fear, both body and spirit suffer. Cultivating presence and acceptance repairs this break and restores balance. Consider how embracing uncertainty could transform tension into trust, fear into courage. What emerges when you stand firm in presence, no longer swayed by doubt but rooted in acceptance? 5. I don't like your friends/family. This phrase is often a silent wedge driven between partners, isolating and undermining the support systems that sustain you. It reflects a desire to control the environment around the relationship, limiting connections that nourish your identity and emotional resilience. Psychologically, this triggers feelings of loneliness and alienation, which activate the brain's pain centers similarly to physical injury. It threatens a fundamental human need for belonging. Shaolin teachings remind us that connection is a source of strength and that isolation fractures the qi flow essential to health. Master Shi Heng Yi teaches that a balanced life embraces community while cultivating personal sovereignty. He warns against allowing external forces to disrupt the harmony between inner cultivation and social support. First, evaluate the boundaries between your relationship and your wider support system with clarity. Practice mindful detachment, observing how the dynamic affects your well-being without immediate reaction. This step draws on Shi Heng Yi's emphasis on awareness as the root of freedom. Second, communicate openly about your needs for connection and support, inviting dialogue rather than conflict. Right speech applied here nurtures understanding and mutual respect. Third, reinforce your internal stability through meditation and physical practice, ensuring that external pressures do not destabilize your core. Shaolin training integrates body and mind, making resilience a lived experience. Ignoring this division fosters isolation, increasing stress and vulnerability. Shaolin philosophy recognizes social harmony as a pillar of a balanced life, and disruption here fractures both spirit and body. Reflect on the strength that arises when your relationships exist in balance, not in opposition to your community but in harmony. How might your inner peace grow when you honor both your bond and your roots? In the silence that follows, a question remains. When confronted with these words and their weight, where do you place your trust? In the fragile echoes of another's insecurity or in the unwavering foundation of your own mastery? The path of Shaolin is not an easy one. It requires courage to see clearly, to stand firm like a rooted tree, and to cultivate a mind that neither clings nor rejects but flows steady like a calm lake. What strength do you choose to nurture within, today and always?